It's Little Bird and Jesus.
Bible stories for bedtime.
And car time. And playtime.
And anytime you want to hear how much Jesus loves you in all this world.
Even little birds.
Hi, I'm Pastor Sarah at St. Paul Lutheran Church in Davenport, Iowa. Welcome to this podcast, Little Bird and Jesus, where we tell stories told just for kids and kids at heart. We're here together to hear about Jesus and his friend Little Bird as they have all kinds of adventures. Podcast friends, I've missed you. I hope you've had a wonderful few months this summer. We're back today for our third season of this podcast. Maybe you've heard all the other stories, or maybe this is your first time listening. If you want, you can scroll all the way back to the beginning, or you can start here. Since we haven't spent time with Little Bird and her friend Jesus for so long, I thought it would be a good idea to remember where they've been and what we know about this adorable sparrow and her best friend. We are going to imagine a story where Little Bird meets a friend on the shore of a lake. And in their conversation, we are going to learn a lot. So get that imagination ready and let's listen to this week's episode.
Little Bird and Jesus make a new friend.
Little Bird was sitting on a branch on the lakeshore. It was a sunny day, and the wind blew gently. The waves lapped quietly on the beach. Jesus was down the beach a little bit, surrounded by a small crowd of people who listened to him as he taught all about God. Little Bird loved Jesus' stories, and she was paying such close attention she didn't notice when an enormous white bird suddenly appeared at her side. "What kind of bird are you?" the big white bird asked. He had the biggest beak that Little Bird had ever seen in her whole life. Little Bird jumped in surprise. She flew into the air, ready to take off, in case that huge bird with a big beak wanted to swallow her whole. But the bird spoke kindly. "Hey, Little Bird, don't worry. I won't eat you. I've got plenty of fish to fill this belly. I'm just curious. I don't see little fluff balls like you around here often. I'm safe. Just want to make some conversation." Little Bird settled back on the log and took a deep breath. Okay. I'm a sparrow. They call me Little Bird." "But what are you?" The bird responded. "Me? I'm a pelican, one of the biggest birds around here." He stretched out his big wings to show off his size. His wings were almost as big as human arms. "I'm pretty good at diving into the water to catch fish." Little Bird responded. "Really? I've got lots of friends who like to fish, but they're humans. They're over there with our best friend, Jesus." The pelican looked at the crowd of people. "That man talking? His name is Jesus? I've been listening to him talk. He really seems to love this world, and people too. You know him?" When Little Bird nodded, the pelican asked, "So how did an ordinary little sparrow like you get to be friends with that impressive holy man?" Little Bird smiled and said, "Well, I first met his mom. Her name is Mary. Mary and I met the day when an angel named Gabriel came to tell her that she was going to have a special baby who would save the whole world. And then—" Wait 1 minute, the pelican interrupted. "Are you telling me you met an angel and you know his name?" Little Bird nodded. "I sure did," she said. "And that wasn't the only time I met Gabriel. When Jesus was born, Gabriel came back to tell a whole bunch of shepherds and their sheep that Jesus was born." The pelican looked impressed and Little Bird knew she could impress him even more. So she said, but it got even better, because then Gabriel was joined by a whole choir of angels who sang a big song about how Jesus would bring peace and joy to the whole world. Because Jesus wasn't just a regular baby, Jesus is God, Emmanuel. The pelican looked confused. That's a big word for a little bird. What does Emmanuel mean? Little Bird was proud of herself. She said, it means God with us. Emmanuel, God with us. That man over there, Jesus, is God, with skin on. The pelican stretched out his big wings and flew up into the sky over Jesus. He circled around and around him a while, watching him and listening, and then he flew back over and landed right next to Little Bird. He said to her, Little Bird, I don't believe you. That man over there is wearing regular old robes, which are a bit dirty and kind of tattered. He's surrounded by fishermen, and while I think fish smell delicious, even I know that humans don't like the smell of fish. There are poor people there, and men and women, and sick people and well people, people from different neighborhoods and who don't all look the same. Little Bird frowned. Those were her friends. She didn't understand what he was trying to say. But the pelican continued. Here's the thing, Fluffball. God is the maker of the world, right? Put the stars in the sky. Knows all the feathers on my big old wings. If God's going to become a human person, that God is for sure going to be a king with gold crowns and big powerful horses and a huge army and fancy friends. And those friends over there, they are not fancy. That guy definitely couldn't be. What do you call it? I'm gonna yell. The little bird said, no, Emmanuel. And then she smiled. That's the thing about Jesus, Emmanuel. He's not what any of us expected, but he's just what we need. Jesus reminds us that God doesn't just care about the rich and the powerful, but all of us, even little birds like me. His strength is in gentleness. He doesn't need an army because he knows that love is more powerful than any sword. He's got the biggest heart, even bigger than that wingspan of yours, Mr. Pelican. The big-beaked bird thought a while and said, you know, that makes some sense. God works in pretty upside-down ways all the time, always mysterious, always surprising us. But what are you doing out here, Sparrow, out here by the lake? Doesn't Jesus have a home? If he is, what's that word again? I've got a smell. Why aren't you in Jerusalem, that big city where the temple is? Little bird shivered. She was terrified of that big city. It's Emmanuel. Jesus grew up in Nazareth, up north, but we're mostly out on the road. He's a traveling teacher, going from town to town, teaching about God and God's great big dream of love for this whole world. He heals people who are sick, forgives sins, does miracles you'd never even believe. Jesus shows people how to live in ways where they'll come to know abundant life, real joy, huge love. Someday we'll go back to Jerusalem, but for now, we're on the road, going from town to town. Little bird stopped, mid-sentence. The pelican was no longer looking down at her, but his eyes were big, looking at something just behind her, while the bottom half of his huge beak dropped down into the water in awe. Little bird hopped around to see what the pelican was looking at, and there, standing behind her, was Jesus, her dear friend, smiling down at both of them. Hey, little bird, Jesus said, it's time to hit the road. And hello there, pelican, sir. It's nice to meet you. I'm Jesus, little bird's friend. Jesus leaned over and put his strong hand on the bird's head, gently caressing it. What a big, beautiful creature you are. Bless you. The pelican was speechless. Jesus turned to join the rest of his human friends, and Little Bird said to the big white bird, "Thanks for talking, Pelican. Sure is good to meet new friends. Maybe we'll see you again next time we're back around here." The pelican picked up his big beak and shook his head. "Wow, that man definitely is, what's that word? I'm in a well? I could just feel it." Little Bird laughed. "Yep, he is Emmanuel. See you later, Pelican." "Farewell, Fluffball," the pelican said as Little Bird flew away. Well, podcast friends, have you ever seen a pelican? They live all over the world. They might even live near you. Maybe you can draw one or pretend to be one with great big wings and a huge big beak. You could ask a grown-up to look online to see how big their wingspan is, and then stretch out your arms and see how big your wingspan is in comparison. God sure made a lot of amazing creatures, huh? What's your favorite creature that God made? Well, this week we heard about Little Bird meeting a new friend and sharing a bit about Jesus. Maybe this week you can meet a new friend too. It's pretty easy. All it takes is a little courage and a few words like, "Hi, my name is Sarah. What's your name? Do you want to play?" Mostly, know that we always have a friend in Jesus. He is Emmanuel, God with us always, no matter where we go. I hope you have a really wonderful week, and I'm so glad we had this time together today. Bye, friends.
Now flap your little wings.
Sing a little song.
And remember that to Jesus,
You will always belong.
Thanks for listening to Little Bird and Jesus, a podcast of St. Paul Lutheran Church in Davenport, Iowa. For more information on St. Paul, visit us at stpaulqc.org. Come visit us again next week as Little Bird continues her journey.